Gaming's association with prominent figures has come a long way since Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. We're in an era where games have advanced so far as a storytelling device that much of television's and film's biggest actors are being cast in huge budget AAA titles. Games like Death Stranding, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and the recently released Cyberpunk 2077 feature actors like Norman Reedus, Jon Bernthal, and Keanu Reeves at the forefront, with characters utilizing their likeness. Whether their featured role is protagonist, antagonist, or secondary character, the folks lending themselves to the part are deeply involved in the game's development and are showcased throughout.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
Although it hasn't gotten to a point where TV and film are interchangeable with video games, the medium has caught up to Hollywood in terms of storytelling and production. Now it appears the blood that keeps the entertainment business going, its actors, have begun to fuel another entity. Could gaming be on the heels of taking over the business at its own game?
Boy, if you don't get...
Although actors have lent their likeness and voices to gaming characters for decades, never has the performances and stories been as intricate as they are now. The evolution of tech has played a keen role in allowing developers to tell more Hollywood caliber stories. From creating lush landscapes and set pieces out of nothing, to digitally grafting the face of the business's most recognizable talents onto character models. It takes much more effort to apply an actor's likeness to a game than it is to just cast them as a voice actor. And as the technology to develop games progress, the process to capture an actor's likeness with mocap has begun to mirror present-day film production. Giancarlo.
Not Carlo.
I grew up in Texas.
Carl. Finish your R.
Oh, Giancarlo.
Yes! Ah!
Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, The Boys, and one of my favorite movies, Fresh.
Ain't nobody asking you, Holmes.
Previously lent his likeness and voice to 2017's Payday 2. However, the Mandalorian star will be featured in a much more established role as Anton Costello in the upcoming title, Far Cry 6, where the actor states he got to cut his teeth on acting in a mocap suit.
Oh my God.
In an interview I conducted with Esposito about the franchise's upcoming installment, he spoke about working a couple of days in the mocap suit for Wes Ball's Maze Runner and another movie that never came into fruition. And then he spoke about his time on The Mandalorian, which is the volume world. And filming there is much easier because there's something tangible to actually work with. However, finding power in your character and having nothing to bounce emotions off of while acting in a silly mocap suit can be challenging, Esposito admitted. Even Jon Bernthal admitted to initially feeling silly in the outfit, but in a conversation I had with him about his time on Ghost Recon Breakpoint, he revealed that he began to fall in love with the process. He also admitted that you have to get over people wearing crazy tights and weird outfits all the time. It takes a second, I would imagine. Esposito echoed the same sentiment, while also adding that acting in his role in the new game helped add a layer to his mocap performance skills. "I've gotten pretty good at it. I like it," he said. "I think it's going to be the new way."
This is the way.
If the technical aspects between acting in a video game, television, and film are slowly blurring together for performers, what can they get from traditional acting that they can't get from acting in games? Well, for one, most games usually take on one mainstream actor for a given title, meaning those actors garner way more attention and screen time than they would in a traditional project with other performers, unless you're a game like Death Stranding or something. The relationship between the dev team and the talent become more engrossed as a result, similar to being the muse of a director like Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, or John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. As a result, the talent becomes that much more invested with the project. Although the likeness of Reedus and Esposito were handpicked to play the roles they star in their respective games, Tomasz Marchewka, lead writer for Cyberpunk 2077, makes note that Reeves was not in their mind when writing the character of military soldier turned rockstar artificial intelligence Johnny Silverhand. However, the character ultimately benefited from being depicted by the actor as he layered his own persona and idiosyncrasies alongside the character. Something I assume is the reason many dev teams become attracted to an actor portraying a character they're developing. According to Marchewka, Keanu Reeves was not in their mind when they were writing Johnny Silverhand, but his unexpected charisma added to the character, which influenced what he became a lot. He's still our Johnny Silverhand, but with a unique, memorable, badass vibe. During the production of a title, developers appear to speak to a facet of the performer's passions. In a behind-the-scenes video for Cyberpunk 2077, Reeves made note that what initially attracted him to the role of Johnny Silverhand were the different branches of dialogue a title of this caliber could provide.
To play a character in so many kind of different ways because of different paths or threads or choices. So you almost get to play one moment, say of a decision, when you take a bullet for it, with 3 different behavioral attitudes. So that was fun. You know, Johnny's either a dick, or he's happy, or he's trying to convince.
Know why? Because you've always been a fucking pussy, Carrie.
So it's been fun, and that was kind of what I was interested in, you know, the different options that the game could play, you know, playing the same person but with different versions of it.
The Matrix star's interest in a medium that drives narrative through choice-based gameplay shouldn't be surprising given his sci-fi filmography. But his passion as a motorcycle enthusiast also comes into play when it comes to his devotion to Cyberpunk 2077. Keanu Reeves' Los Angeles-based customization bike shop, Arc Motorcycle, allowed the developers to use his custom sports vehicles to capture sound, including the rare Arc Method 143, of which only 23 units are still available. For Bernthal, acting in games remind him of acting in live theater, where his awakening for the craft first began. When asked about his experience on Ghost Recon, Bernthal said, "When you're in a room with 800 cameras on you, one little thing can mess up something, and it could be a 15-minute scene, and at the 8-minute mark, somebody can mess up, and the whole take is thrown. And because of those high stakes, he is very in love with the entire process of acting and performing in the medium of gaming." In the case of Giancarlo Esposito,
Carlo.
the medium of gaming is able to capture the essence of shooting movies and film as cinema transitions to shooting solely in digital, a facet of technical filming the actor is passionate about. It appears as games evolve to tell more engaging tales to invest audiences, development teams have also begun to enlist star talent and tap into their passions to get them as invested with the project as they are. Of course, building this type of environment around a typical voice actor is almost never found, because there is no innate marketing to be had by casting them like there is a Keanu, Esposito, or Bernthal. Their likeness alone attracts the outskirts of the entertainment world and creates a synergy with the medium that garners attention from outside gaming's core demographics. Cyberpunk has a collaboration with Adidas on the way, attracting the eyes of casual gamers in the footwear community who think of the title as the next GTA 6. CD Projekt Red has worked closely with NVIDIA ahead of the release of its latest 3000 series graphics cards to create the best performance with Cyberpunk, thanks to the GPU's latest ray tracing capabilities. As such, peripheral gamers in the tech community have a new benchmark in the title. The game's soundtrack even features songs from artists like Grimes, Run the Jewels, and Health. As far as synergy and brand recognition across all mediums go, it's Travis Scott, Rick and Morty, and Cyberpunk 2077. In response to a question I asked about the star power of Keanu and what the team hopes it will do for the title and medium at large, principal writer for Cyberpunk 2077, Jakub Szamałek, states that Keanu Reeves is basically a living legend, just as Johnny Silverhand is. And the development team needed a face to convey the fame of Johnny Silverhand. And who's a better face than the hottest guy of 2019, Keanu Reeves, who starred in Toy Story 4, John Wick, Bill and Ted. Well, that's just here. Never mind. But he's a very popular guy. Marcin Blacha, story director for Cyberpunk 2077, added that a character as nuanced and important to the plot as Johnny Silverhand had to be played by the right man, and Keanu Reeves was the right man. Blacha even goes as far as to say the characters in computer games are still not able to act like the real ones, but with someone as charismatic as Keanu on board, we can be confident that his power will be transferred to the character he is playing. Although there is an obvious plus to having an actor as the face of your new game, Esposito also believes due to the nature of production in the COVID era, taking parts in video games will become the new outlet for actors to perform. He mentions how it takes a smaller unit on a motion capture stage to shoot Far Cry 6 than it does to shoot an episode of Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. And that filming in video games bring about a richer, more vivid world, and that interaction from good actors will progress the medium and make it a new outlet for other actors and performers, and that the medium is growing incrementally. There's a symbiotic relationship between the development team and the talent where both feed off each other's passions to perfect a vision and a compelling performance respectively. Bernthal later added that working on Ghost Recon, seeing everybody who's trying to make this game from all over the world really spoke to him, and that their passion leaked into his passion, and that as an artist, it was a huge mistake to say that you will do your art in one medium but will not do it in another. He also points out that performing is all the same and that it's constantly evolving, especially technically, and as a result that he's open to all mediums. The relationship between gaming and Hollywood has been tumultuous, to say the least. The business continually attempts to adapt video game properties, and more often than not, they fail on the caliber of Super Mario Bros., a guilty pleasure, up to the recent Warcraft and Tomb Raider reboot. Hell, even the most recent video game movie success, Sonic the Hedgehog, saw immense online backlash following the reveal of the titular character, forcing the FX studio to redo all his scenes. And even then, the film only did well because not a lot of films released theatrically in 2020. Execs can't seem to grasp how to faithfully tell a video game story to a general audience, but dev teams have been proven to be able to. And now, they have the star power to attract that general audience to their content. Given the state of cinema being what it is in 2020, we could see more talent flock over to gaming. Studios like Warner Brothers have begun to transition big Hollywood blockbusters to streaming services like HBO Max, much to the chagrin of directors like Christopher Nolan, who's been vocal about his support of theaters amid closures. There's now speculation that the Directors Guild of America, as well as Lionsgate, could begin a boycott over the theatrical to streaming deal, which may influence the Screen Actors Guild to do the same. That could put a hold on many future projects, including some of the big name content Disney recently announced. As Esposito touched on, shooting on motion capture stages, the volume world, will be the new way.
This is the way.
As Disney recently confirmed its use of sound stages and live background images to film The Mandalorian will be expanded into several different locations to produce future projects.
And ironically, the efficiency of stagecraft has allowed us to continue to work during this pandemic. On The Mandalorian Season 2, we expanded stagecraft's capabilities further and built an even larger volume. Additionally, we are building 3 more volumes right now in Los Angeles, London, and Australia.
It doesn't take many people for this process of production, which is perfect during the pandemic, but it's also more or less how the video game industry has been producing content for years. Motion capture volume has been used by Lucasfilm for its latest game, Jedi Fallen Order, starring Shameless and Gotham star Cameron Monaghan. The events of the game are canon to the overarching universe of Star Wars movies, shows, and comics. There's an outcry from fans of the game to see the character portrayed by Monaghan in an upcoming Disney Plus show, and the process of filming for the show would mirror his previous experience with the studio. It very well could be the first of many instances where an actor portrayed in a game would translate into the live-action property seamlessly. It could also become a new backdoor for actors to fit into bubbling, multi-property franchises like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Film and television aren't going anywhere, no matter what happens to movie theaters. but the way content will be filmed and viewed is changing in real time right now. Andy Serkis, who pioneered the art of motion capture performances and yet has never been nominated for an Oscar, has faith himself that the art will be recognized as we progress into the future. He says due to performances from the likes of Doug Jones in The Shape of Water, the Academy is widening the remit. However, if that caliber of performance isn't present, those performances will assuredly get overlooked, he says. Given the world's circumstances, the gap between what it takes to produce film and television versus a game has begun to shrink rapidly. So that future Serkis was alluding to may be on the fast track to becoming reality. Having stars like Keanu featured in games may not be legitimizing the medium in the eyes of Hollywood, but it very well may be convincing the town's performers. So while the chaos ensues with directors, film studios, and parent companies, actors will be getting their performance off elsewhere.